Hey everybody, Pixel Pusher here. I'm going to show you how to make walls and floors um, isometric style in Photoshop, either using images from the web, like some of these, and I'm also going to show you how to do the same thing with flooring tiles. All right, so here's the wall that I did as an example. Um, I've made it seamless, so when I go to put it next to the copy that I made, that it looks really good. I can also do this with the top, but I chose not to. I don't think it's really necessary since you can kind of, overlap it to make it look seamless yourself. Whereas with doing it horizontally, it's a little tougher. All right, so you'll also notice that I'm using a isometric grid here. I covered that in an earlier tutorial. I'll put the link to it in the description so you can reference it. But basically, the grid is aligned to what I call the shift and directional key rule. You can hold shift and move the wall, and it'll always align to the grid in one way or another. So let's start from the beginning. I'm going to take a pattern, just any old pattern on Google search. I'll show you what I searched. I searched brick patterns, and I got a load of patterns to go by. So we're just going to take this one. It's one of the simpler ones that I came across, and that's actually how I made this one over here. So I'm going to paste it in. Of course, it's going to be really large. So I'm going to have to scale it a little bit. So I go to Edit, Free Transform. I go to one of the corners. I hold Shift and I scale down. Also, when you're scaling down like this, you want to have nearest neighbor initialized for your scaling, because that's how you're going to get that really cool pixel look out of any photo. Now I understand that this method may come across as like, oh well, you're ripping somebody's stuff off, but really, when you're finished, it's an original piece that you have made. No one can really tell that you took this from anywhere. So it is original in your own sense. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this down. About 15 minutes, right? All right, so I'm going to get to a point with this where I want to apply it, and I'm going to want to make it so it's an actual pattern that I can repeat. All right, so let's do, I usually cut off the sides, so it's like that, and that. Then this way I can actually put them side by side, and it'll line up. So let's copy that just to check my work. Might want to do this to check your work. Look at that. It's perfect, right? All right. So I understand that this isn't aligned to grid yet. So that's fine. We can adjust that right now. I'm going to just free transform it, and I'm going to put it right there. I usually like putting it right here, dividing on the as for the footing. I'm going to move this in. I could make this smaller. I could make it like that, but for demonstration purposes, I'm going to make it just like my other one, where it's going to take up 2 blocks. All right. You can make the height whatever you want, depending on the size of the bricks, I'd say. So I wouldn't make it that small, but maybe that size and above. And you notice I'll use the same footing as I did for the bottom. So I'll try to put that in there so it fits real snug. Also, you want to make sure that it's on off like that. So you're on the bottom ones and you're a little off on the top ones. However, it doesn't look real good. So I'm just going to do that anyway. And I'm going to go from free transform to transform and skew. This way I can align it to the grid. Now I can move this around the way I want so it looks good. Also, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off some of this bottom because you see it overlaps on the bottom. We don't want that. So I'm going to erase in a straight line where I can just click, hold Shift, and then go over here and click again. Holding Shift allows me to draw or erase in a straight line. I'm going to do that with this top as well. Here we go. Now I understand this looks a little sloppy, but what you can do is you can actually fix that a little bit. I usually like putting these in like that. It looks a little off. I'm going to put a brown one here. This is the longest part of doing these walls, is touching it up before you're settled with it. Put one of those there. Actually, you know what? That didn't look real good. So let's okay. Now we're looking good. And we're going to lighten this grout up a little bit.
Hey, Rand. Hey, Rand.
Yeah.
Did you give the dog a hug?
Sorry about that. Interruptions during a live video does not really go good with the recording. Okay. So here we go. We're going to make sure that these grouts are lined properly. Take out a few of these. Not really that big of a deal. All right. You don't really have to do this if you don't want to. I just do it so it looks real nice, and you can use it for all purposes, really. Okay, and there's your wall. Now we can put it side by side again, just to show you that it is seamless. Look at that. Came out perfect, right? Now this brick pattern may be a little bigger than you want, maybe a little smaller than you want, depending on the style that you're going for here. So I'm going to put my little detective sprite next to it, so I can just see how it looks. Yeah, it looks pretty sharp, right? All right. Now, like I said, you can make this taller if you want. I'm going to make it a little taller. And of course, I'm going to cheat a little. I'm going to overlap so it looks better. And there's a little bit of a line there. I can get rid of that real easy just by making arbitrary mouse clicks of the color that I want to put in there. And there's our wall pattern. What I'm going to do too is that if you want to really make it like unique or whatever, I usually do hue and saturation. So you can change the color or whatever you want to do to it. Let's make it like lighter brick, like a tanner brick. And of course we're going to darken it a little bit. Depending on how much color you want to use saturation. Lightness is, of course, your light and dark, and this is the hue is definitely the color. You can do this in many different ways. I mean, I've seen people do it with the color slider, color balance. So if you want to make it more yellow or whatever, you can do that. Even the grout changes then. We'll, we'll go a little yellow, and then we'll take some of the color out of it. Yeah, so there you go. You got a nice wall that you can repeat. All right, now I'm going to show you how to make a floor pattern. Here's a few that I did. I showed you before. These are really just patterns that I took off of regular pieces. Like here's a wood floor here. There's some tiles or some stone. There's even like a really shiny floor that I did. And these even more complex ones where I did like 4 blocks at a time. 16. I made my own basketball court. And you can also do this with like objects too. Like if you want to make docks, like I did here, there's a simple process where you can make the floor, and then you can just add more onto it as you create that floor. All right, so let's find a pattern we want to use for brick floor. This one would be good, but the problem is that if I go and make it smaller, the brick lines will disappear. So you want to make sure you get one where it's where it's at least cohesive enough where there's like a good definition between light and dark. I'm not seeing anything I like here. I am still looking at bricks, so you know what? Let's use. No, we can't use that one either. Don't mind me, folks. You probably found one faster than I did. This one might be good. Yeah, see, look how the definition is to this. It's really like, between the light and dark grouts there. All right, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it. And let me paste it in. And of course, it's really, really large. So we're going to free transform it. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to hold the shift and bring in the sides. Now, just like we did with the wall, we're going to want to put a footing in here, just to make sure we're doing it right. And it looks good. There we go. So now you have a clear definition here. Now you can take better patterns than the one that I took. I mean, like ones that actually look like a real photo or whatever. But I think for demonstration purposes, this will serve you well. So now that you have a basic pattern about the size that you need it to be to go with your wall. Not that this really goes with this stylistically, but for demonstration purposes, like I said, it should do you well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do skew and make sure that it aligns with the bottom. And just like in the wall one too, I'm going, well, actually, you know what? Let's not apply this yet. Let's redo that. So transform, skew, line it up again. And then this time, instead of actually applying it or canceling it like I just did, I'm going to take the top and kind of put it right there. So it aligns with the grid. Now I'm going to poke at this a little bit to kind of give it more definition. The problem is too is that if you have grouts like this, you might get inconsistencies, like here, or over here, or definitely here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, inconsistencies are okay. It doesn't have to be 100%. And the reason is because life isn't 100%. You're not going to have like, especially in brick tiles, like if you walk down a street, right, that has brick tiling, all the bricks aren't perfect like this. they don't look like this at all. um, so really, you could get away with a lot of leeway here of not having things look as perfect as you may want them to be. Now, like in my wall demonstration, I'm going to have to get rid and add some things. So we're going to erase some of these at the end. And we're also going to do the same thing this side, which we don't have to do now. This side, it's going to need it. You know that you can't see it. You know what I should do? I'll turn off the background. There you go. So you can really see how I did this. Now, it isn't matching against this one side. So I think what I'll do is I'll touch it up a little bit. And since we have no grout on this side, we'll make a grout on this side. All right. And we'll define the we'll define the grout a little bit better on this side. All right. It looks good, right? Because now we can actually take this and repeat it now. There you go. And you have a brick pattern that you can use for your flooring. So let me put in my dark contrast again. And you should be able to align this to any wall that you want now. There you go. And let's mess with this a little bit. We can make it a little darker and pretty much the same color that we want, or a good color that we want. I didn't want to pick that option. Let's do Hue Saturation instead. Okay. I realize this isn't the same style. Like I said before, it's strictly for demonstration purposes. And there we are. And like the wall, you can line it up. You can make a few of these. There you go. And you have a floor then. All right. I think that pretty much does it for this tutorial. I hope you got enough out of this. I realize that I'm using a lot of techniques that if you aren't very familiar with Photoshop, you're probably going to get lost watching this. So you may want to mess around on your own with the transform, like edit transform options, free transform, and skew when you've put your grid together. And like I said about putting the grid together earlier, that I will put a link in the description for anybody who wants to check out that other video of mine. And that's it. I hope you guys got a lot out of this. And if you got any other tutorials you want to know about, like pixel art, or you want to see me try to cover, you can always email or comment, and do what you do on the YouTube machine. All right. Take care, everybody.